Peace. Good morning, family. How you doing? It's Mr. R2 here at Consistency is Currency Morning Podcast. And I would like to say you have made it to a whole nother week. This is the last week of February, and we're going and transitioning into March. So my words to you again, we always start with gratitude. We will never sway away from that. So I thank you for being here. I thank you for just being in this space and sharing this space with me in the morning, because there always can be something that you could be doing in the morning, but you're doing it right here on this podcast with me as I am here with you. So those that are watching on the YouTube, I thank you for watching. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Those that are listening right now in this podcast world, whether you're listening on Spotify, you're listening on Anchor, you're listening on iHeart, or you're listening on Apple, or you're listening on the Facebook podcast as well. So always start with gratitude and always start with that. Because a lot of times when we don't start with gratitude, what happens is we begin to take things for granted. And I don't like to take things for granted because it doesn't have to be. I will say that again. I will never take something for granted because it doesn't have to be. So look at that from your own perspective and the things that you do and how you dwell and who you surround yourself with in your life. What do you have, or what have you shown gratitude for, or what have you shown gratitude towards? Because remember, it did not have to be. And that's kind of where we're going to go today when we're talking about mindful and a full mind. That is the inversion of thought. And how was your weekend? I want to know about that. How was your weekend? Be mindful about how your weekend was, so you won't have a full mind throughout the week, because there may be something that you're going to have to let go, or there may be something that you did actually let go. Again, I'm going to challenge your thoughts. I'm going to challenge your thought process of mindful and a full mind. Now, we're playing with the wordplay just a little bit, but it is really actions. Mindful and full mind. They sound the same. Somebody want to pull them together. So let's go ahead and see who's in the room. Peace. Aloha, Miss Latricia. And good morning, Miss Selena. So let's go ahead and jump into it. Here we go. All right, pay attention to the words. As we always do, we go into the definition. Make sure you share this live on your YouTube groups and page or whatever. And once you do that, go ahead and put the word done so we can tap into these thoughts inside of our head. And that's where we're going. All right, mindful over full mind. So we're going through the definition of mindful, which is a conscious or aware of something, focusing on one's awareness on the present moment, especially as part of a therapeutic or meditative technique. And now let's go ahead and flip it inverted. Mindful is conscious awareness, especially as technique. Now, it is a technique when you're dealing with mindfulness, or you're dealing with being in that space of understanding what mindfulness and how mindfulness does help you out. So again, the definition, it says conscious or aware of something, focusing one's awareness on the present moment, especially as part of the therapeutic or meditative technique. Contrast conscious awareness, especially as a technique, because it will take more than once, and it will take practice in order for you to understand what mindfulness and how mindfulness can help you out. And just the raw definition of mind is the element of a person that enables them to be aware of the world and their experience, to think and to feel, the faculty of consciousness and thought. Now, I don't know about you, but I've been seeing the word faculty in a lot of these different definitions. Faculty is a powerful thing when you understand what it is, because remember, faculty is inherited in the mind and or physical. So the contrast in this is element of a person, because in the mind, that is an element of the person. It's not the whole person, but is the element of a person's experiences the faculty of consciousness and thought. So the element of the person, that person that is inside of their head and they're experiencing things, and the faculties, remember, the inherited conscious of consciousness and thought. So the last thing I'm gonna leave you with before we jump into it is what you practice grows stronger. If you understand this part, go ahead and put into the comment section. What you practice grows stronger. How do you define this? What you practice grows stronger. So when you're going into what you practice grows stronger, because when you're dealing with having a full mind and being mindful, you have a lot of people that have a full mind that really doesn't fulfill them. It's like if you're having a full mind and you're practicing fear or you're practicing judgment, that fills your mind. And don't you know and understand? Well, if you don't, I want you to know and understand, when you have a mind full of shame or you have a mind full of fear, what happens is you begin to close down the learning centers of your brain, and it has the ability to paralyze your actions or the activities that you have, because you begin to fill your mind with fear, or begin to fill your mind with doubt. But you have to understand that you have to be mindful of the things that you practice, because it will grow. Have you ever felt? Now I'll just speak personal for me. Like when I was reading the book again, when I was reading the book, Fail Forward, I began to, in my mind, was so full of the word failure, failure, failure. And I know that I couldn't continue to read this book, because I began to look at failure everywhere that I turned. So I had to part ways with the book. I mean, those who read the book that like it, I mean, cool, that's on you. But there is a mindfulness that I had within myself. So I knew that I didn't want to fill my mind with failure. So I had to be mindful. I had to be conscious and aware of the elements of what was being planted in my mind. So because I was consciously aware, that's the mindful. And remember, to be within the mind is the elements of the mind. So I had to be consciously aware of the elements that was in my mind, because it was beginning to be full of failure. And I've been seeing the word so many times that I began to feel a certain way. And because of the experiences, again, of what I was reading, I had to understand that I had to shift my mind to be mindful about what I was reading. That's just like when you have someone and you say, be mindful about what you say. Be mindful. That means be consciously aware about what you say. Be consciously aware about where you're going. Be consciously aware about what's happening in the room. Because again, in the definition of mind is the elements. What elements have you put yourself in? Don't you understand the elements that you put yourself in? You do have the mindfulness to pull yourself away. There was a Harvard study that came out, and they said our mind wanders 47% of the time. Hey, I didn't make the study. I can't even say if the study is true or the study is false, but only you have the ability to say, okay, I can see that. It's said that our mind wanders at 47% of the time. So then I have to mathematically ask you, what are you doing during the other 53%? What are you doing with the other 53%? Because if your mind wanders at 47% of the time, in order for it to be whole, because remember, the definition of mind is the elements. So, what elements are you plugging yourself into that allows you to wander at 47% of the time? So, the other 53 should be mindful of when your mind begins to wander. As you begin to lose focus on that certain particular thing, or lose focus on that in that particular time, because remember, the elements, it's not the whole you. It is saying that at 47% of the time your mind wanders. So now let's focus on the things that makes your mind wander. Let's not completely focus. Let's be aware and consciously aware of when fear kicks in. What do you do when fear kicks in? You kick back. You put yourself in the position to understand when these emotions take place, the faculties, because if you're inheriting fear, don't you know fear has the ability to pass on? Fear has the ability, it's just like black people. If one person runs in a group, what will happen? Everybody will sometimes we ain't looking around. When we get around the corner, then we're gonna ask, oh man, why are we running? I don't know, but you notice how the faculties just whipped fear around everyone, and then we all ran. That is inherited. So what are you inheriting? What faculties are you inheriting? It's like being emotionally intelligent. That is mindfulness, being emotionally intelligent, because I'm aware about how I feel when I feel it. And having a full mind of fear, or having a full mind of disappointment, having a full mind of shame. And again, like I said, don't you know what you practice does have the ability to grow stronger? You're afraid of starting. So every time that you begin something, the fear kicks in, and it's going to grow stronger, and it's going to paralyze your process. It's going to paralyze your purpose. It's going to push you down to where you no longer want to get up, because you practiced it. You practice it so much. You practice it so often. The 47% of you has begun to wander away from your purpose. The 47% of you has begun to wander to push you away from your passion. So therefore, you practice it so long that you begin to believe in it. You begin to put yourself in a position that fear is stronger than faith, and faith is no longer present in the things that you're doing because you practiced it so much. But let's begin to become mindful. Let's begin to become consciously aware about where we are, consciously aware about what we say, consciously aware about the things that we're doing. That is becoming mindful, and not just having a full mind. I remember I was in, when I went to battle staff, for those that are in the military. Battle staff, that school ain't no joke. So I remember I was in battle staff, and the instructor, he used a word that I never heard before, and it fascinated me that I had to disrupt the class. I'm like, excuse me, sir, what does this word mean? He used the word, and he said superfluous. And I've never heard the word before, superfluous. And I was like, could you please use that in a sentence? Like I was in a spelling bee. Sir, could you please use that in a sentence? Because I've never heard it. And I'm like, what do you mean? What is superfluous? And he said, superfluous is useless information. It's like unnecessary. So how many times have we put ourselves in a position to where we had so much useless information just full of all of this stuff that we do nothing with it. Full of stuff. How many of us are just full of stuff or know someone that's just full of stuff that they do or have yet to do anything with it? That's because they have a full mind, but not mindful. If you're the person that's full of stuff, full of this superfluous information that you have yet to empower the information that you've gathered or empowered the information that you've gained and become mindful of the information that you have, pointing a finger at all of this stuff instead of looking at who possessed the information and how is the information being useful in what you're doing. So let's begin to become mindful, a lot more mindful about what we do. And I guarantee you that having a full mind is way different than being mindful. Yes, it's like wordplay. It's like inverted intentions. I have intentions on being mindful about where I am. I have no intention on just having a full mind. My intentions on being mindful is greater than my desire of having a full or a mind full of stuff. I mean, that's like a personal affirmation. You know, I dwell in the thoughts of every day is another day. Every day is another day to be successful. That has been mindful about the skills and the talents that you have, that you know you have the ability to be successful. You know you have the ability to duplicate success. Why? Because you've done it before. Instead of you being, again, remember 47% of your mind wanders at 47% of the time. But what are you doing with the other 53? So you have the ability to duplicate your success and be bigger and better. And remember, the things that you practice will grow stronger. Practice success. Practice breathing. Practice eating right. Practice being around, people that have the ability to tap into your God sense or tap into your ability and give you the energy and pouring back into you, because the same person or the same people that pour into you and you have the ability to pour back into them, you begin to practice and strengthen one another. So be mindful about who you're around, because then you will be mindful about where you're going. I probably need to write that down. Be mindful about who you're around, and you will be mindful about where you're going. Guarantee it. All right, that's all I got. But hey, be blessed, be strong, and remember, the things that you practice will grow stronger. Don't practice fear. Don't practice judgment. Don't practice being ashamed. Don't practice shamefulness, because it grows stronger. Don't you know practicing worry grows so strong that it transitions into an ulcer? Practice kindness. You got like attitude. Practice having a good attitude. Be mindful about the attitude that you have. And I guarantee you, mindfulness will turn into kindfulness. That's a new word. Y'all don't be stealing that word. Mindfulness could actually transition into kindfulness or intentionalness. Now, these are fake words. I mean, we can add them in the dictionary another time. I don't know. Mindfulness can transition into kindfulness, can transition into intentionalness, because you're practicing it over and over and over again. that it becomes a part of what you do, and it becomes a part of the things that you say, and it becomes a part of the places that you go, because you carry it with you, because you've practiced it so much and you practiced it so many times that it grew and it became stronger. So when you're in the room, you can be the energy in the room because it exudes you, and it stays in the room even after you left, because you brought so much energy, because it became that strong odor of success. But hey, enjoy the rest of your day. And remember, here at Consistency is Currency, we here every 7:30 in the morning during the weekday. Don't be looking for it on Saturday and Sunday, but during the weekday. And today is Monday, and today is another day for you to be successful. And once you figure that out, do it over and over and over again, and be consistent. Peace.